Hi everyone, it's 4 p.m. on Thursday. This is when we do our AI residency show and tell, and we will also have a carousel feature. This week we have Ha, who will be doing it. So if you guys are in the Singapore office and would like to come to the front, now is the time to do so. Those at the back of house, all our tech colleagues, you can also make your way here. We'll get started soon. You can wait a few more minutes. You can just log in.
Recording in progress.
You can take about how long? Okay, guys, we're going to get started. Okay, our first feature will be from Ha, who will be talking about a design toolkit. Yeah, and then followed by the residents. Okay. Yay.
I'm actually very excited to hear about your sharing later because in the morning I was watching the video and I think I can relate a lot to. Yeah. Yeah, I'm one of the two few, but I can relate to the problem statement very well because I think the metrics-centric app is the reason why I give up on a lot of my fitness goals. So I want to. So I looking forward to be able to use our solution in the near future. So my name is Ha. I'm from the Carousell product design team. So I'll be sharing about a little tool that we built in our product team this year. So it was motivated by how I wish that we can move faster together. So maybe back to maybe beginning of last year when I started doing vibe coding and playing with AI tool, I realized that it is very fast to move alone to build new idea from scratch. But the state of the current AI tools is that it is still quite difficult and slow to move together, especially in a product and organization with existing context like Carousell. So I documented some of the, so over the past few months, our working practices changed a lot. So I documented some of the ways that is changing and also the challenges that I observe in them. So the first one is that because the roles are collapsing, now like PM do engineer jobs, engineer also do designer job and so on. Everyone can do anything and great ideas can come from anyone. Maybe earlier you had a good idea, but you don't know how to express them. But now I see a lot of people have a great idea and then they use AI to generate very long PR, FAQ, PID documents, which is, I think it's still a good step because at least your ideas are being expressed. But then the problem is the consumer of these tools are still a human. And I think human brain cannot process so much AI generated content, especially today when they are being generated at such a high speed. So, so long documents are where a lot of good ideas go to die. Then after that, we see a lot of interactive mocks. So these are the likes of maybe Lovable, Boat. Then after that, there is also Cloud Design and so on, where you can visualize your idea in a very quick, maybe just minutes and even seconds. And they look realistic and they look good. But the problem with them that prevent them from moving to the next steps is that it is built on unrealistic context. So what I mean by unrealistic context is not about how it does not follow design language. that the existing app has, but the fact that you can see that they are very spacious. It is like designing in an ideal world where everything is starting from scratch. But in a product that is 14 years old, like Carousell, a lot of the important works that we do every day is actually to balance the existing context. So how do we split the real estate between different competing priorities, different user groups and different user habits without breaking them? Then, in addition, on the other side, have anyone seen this screen before and know what it is? So this is how, if you don't know them, actually you are very lucky, because this is where designers spend hours of our time connecting static screens to create interactive prototypes. But maybe this will be a extinct practice in the future. But even after spending hours of our time, the prototype that we create is still nowhere near to the interactivity that we would like to have in order to communicate our ideas effectively to users and our stakeholders. Then that comes along vibe coding tools. And some of them does come close to what we want in a prototype. But then in order to make it work, we still spend a lot of our time refining the details, refining the interactions. And I think maybe the worst part of it is once you make it, most of the prototype is once created once and thrown away. You cannot share it with another person to improve on them or to build up on. So, so because of this reason, we made Carousell. So what it is essentially, the motivation behind it is very simple. So I want to make the user experience of using AI tools better for everyone, make collaboration more seamless, especially for people who do not have time to tinker and keep up with the latest AI trends. Because like beside all this, there is a meme on the internet that say that in order to keep up with AI trend, you need to be unemployed. But then we still have our own work to do every day. So with this, I hope that we can get through the first hurdle and get to the result faster without taking all these steps. So the prototype kit, what it is essentially built on our existing design language. So we imported our design libraries, so our typography tokens, color tokens, existing components of the app, as well as ready-to-use product templates like the Me page, Seller tools. So Carousell has a lot of pages, maybe like 10, 20 of them. And now if you have an idea, instead of spending time describing to the AI how Carousell looks like and how does it work today, you can just add water to any of this page and start to visualize your idea right away. So to share some of the examples of what the team has created with this, the first one is what I would call maybe hyper-realistic interactive prototype for TCG's card scanner. We integrate it in our existing app prototype. And with the prototype, we can refine a lot of micro interactions, like for example, with the sensory feedback and how does it feel to switch between different actions, how fast it is for the camera to detect an image and take a snapshot, and also how fast and how slow it is for it to understand the card's informations and show the result to the user. We will be able to make the right design decisions on these projects. Then another example that I want to share is about how anyone can prototype and not just designers. So this prototype here was actually one of the rare projects where the design is not started from the designer but from our engineers and PM. So for context, Spotlight is a very technical project. Then sometimes when the engineer explained to me how bidding works and how the listing will move up and down depending on how much the user bid, I'm also very lost myself. But now instead of him design through me by coming to tell me that I want it to be like this, he can prototype the idea himself. And after seeing what he prototyped, I feel that it was very intuitive for me to understand what he means. But to be honest, after I see the prototype that they make in the first round, my first reaction is very complicated. But I don't want to spend a lot of time arguing with them, like debating whether this is the right design or not. Because it's so cheap to prototype today, instead of spending a lot of time debating ourselves, what we did was to just bring these prototypes to the users and collect feedback from them and let them tell us about what did we get right or wrong. So we go to the user, we iterate with them, and we iterate the prototype between sections quite rapidly. And over the course of a few days, we tested at least 15 variations with 11 users, and that gave us confidence in the final solution that we ended up with. So anyone can prototype, but anyone can contribute and improve the lab also. So I might be the person who created the first version of it, but with everyone who use the kit to work on their projects, their efforts are cumulative. So this is an example of how different designers build up on the same prototype. So the first version was created by Shireen, where she wanted to do a prototype for the following interaction so that she can explain it to the engineers better. Then when the next designer comes and work on the same screen, she doesn't need to recreate everything from scratch. She would build up on what Shireen has already done. Then we have another designer, Ching Ting. So she has a pain point, but then she solved her own problem. So the pain point was that we need to design for many different screen sizes, and to make sure that what is in the first fold, what is important is always in the first fold, and the design is always not too large or too small in different screens. This was quite difficult to do in our current tool. So Jing Ting added her own device switchers, so that for every screens that we design on this prototype, we can visualize how they look like in different screen sizes. Then the next, what I would call a community contribution that we had in the kit was the fact that we integrate with multi-model LLM. So the first ever TCG scanner was added because we want, in order to make this to work, we need a model that can understand images. But the slide is not about this project, but the fact that because this project has been done and the kit has API to like LLM now, so anyone who wants to do something similar, anyone who wants to build an AI product that has image recognition can take this and create a similar product without having to understand how to integrate with API themselves. Then similarly, because I was inspired by so this was done by someone else, but I was inspired by how we can add on a lot of capabilities to the kit. So I took it a step further by integrating image generation model in the kit, where if the user upload, this is an example. So if the user upload an image of their room and the inspiration of how the new carpentry they would like to build, then we can generate the image for them with the same room and with the new carpentry. But the point of this slide is not about this idea, but the fact that if you have an idea for image generation now, you can use the kit and you can get it done in a few prompts. I will not call it just add water, but I think it is a lot easier, especially for non-tech people and people who are less technical, to start to build something for themselves. So yeah,
that's it.
yes,
Thank you.
I think that is it. Actually, I was thinking that the audience will be more Carousell users, so I was hoping that with this they can be more inspired to build tools for themselves, and then if they are, I will be happy that they will use the lab to build their tools. But then for the external audience, if you have ideas that you want to share with me and how we can make it better, feel free to do so as well.
Thank you, Ha. Yeah, we do have Carousell folks online, so they should have heard your presentation. But for now, we'll just take questions from here. Both our residents can ask you questions about of what you've done, or anybody else here as well, okay? So anyone has questions to kick us off?
So the thing I like about your, do you mind going like a few slides back? Yeah, sure. Here or the furniture stuff. So the thing I like about your thing is this computer vision model, right? It looks at the thing, it knows what the thing is with a certain confidence level, and then it spits out whatever your ideal outcome is, right? But what I've seen like sellers do, right, is because it's an actual physical product, you still have to end up taking photo of it, right? And the taking photo aspect is the real painful part because it's one by one, and there's hundreds, maybe thousands of cards. Um, so sorry, I think the hard part isn't recognizing what the card is. I think the hard part is the taking of the photo itself. Because this micro interaction camera capture thing, right, has existed for like 1 or 2 years already. Everyone is trying to do it, but the difference is, right, theirs is looking at the condition as well, which I'm sure you know affects the price of whatever you're trying to sell, right? If you're trying to sell a bed, everyone wants to know, hey, how old is this? Do you still have warranty? Are there bed bugs? So on and so forth. So I think the little nitty-gritty details matter a lot more, which are harder to address.
Yeah, I think for the cell phone, we can have longer conversation. But for our seller, there are multiple different kind of pinpoints they have. So taking photo is one. Then knowing how to price is another one. Also, how do we suggest them price that are realistic to the current marketplace price is also another problems. So each of them requires different kind of solution. So for this particular one, because we know that cards is different from other, like for example, if you have a phone, right, maybe you only have one or two phone to list, but cards you might have like thousands. So because of that, the pinpoint of taking photos is bigger for them, and that is why we do this particular camera vision for cards to solve for it specifically. Yeah, does it answer your question? Yeah, but we can discuss more about the other stuff like the price inside and all. Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks for sharing. I think it's a very interesting tool, and I think it's great for collaboration, and also it like compresses like the iteration cycles, right? Which is excellent because you talk about how the boundaries between like different roles are collapsing. And then I was just curious about the workflow that you have currently, because I think you mentioned something about how everyone can improve on the tool, and then because so many people are working on it at the same time, right? So how do you ensure that you're not overwriting like one another's changes, or do you have like a specific flow? Like at one point, only one person is working on a specific element. Like how do you actually like distinctly not have boundaries that are like overlapping at the same time when you're working on it?
I think this is a very good question. So when coming up with workflow for the team, I have tried different ways. So there are some ways where it is more like you want to come up with the process or the structure so that everyone will follow, and then there will be no mistakes. But the downside of that is if there are too much structure, no one wants to do it. So let's say if there's a designer who want to do a prototype, but before creating the prototype, she has to first learn how to run the local host, run a server, then need to learn how you can create branches so that it doesn't conflict with each other. Then the friction is too high. So I think I don't have a very direct answer, but I think it has to be, you need to use your feeling to see what is the maturity. Firstly, if no one is doing anything, then structure is not good. It should be, there should be more freedom. But then when a lot of people are using it and the conflict starts to happen, then that is when maybe one or two people might need to create the structures for everyone.
So currently it's like you're built on specific feature branches and then you'll merge it only if it's approved, like someone is the central person.
There's no central person at the moment, so it's free for everyone.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, thanks for sharing.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, okay, thank you, Ha. Yeah, okay, we'll have Mabel go up next.
Hi everyone, I'm back. So thanks.
Okay, so I haven't had a proper rest the past 2 weeks, and it's
Wait,
not even that
no.
deep of a reason. It was actually a two.
Wait, give me a second.
Okay, so I haven't.
Sorry, that was too. I wanted to show like this video because I have been getting asked like so many times about how Shark Tank was and how the entire experience was. I think I repeated it 5 times today. So what I did instead was a video that's a 90-second highlight reel of the experience. So please enjoy, and then I'll go into the actual explanation of the insights that I learned from it. All right.
Okay, so I haven't had a proper rest the past 2 weeks, and it's not even that deep of a reason. It was actually a 3-minute pitch. So backstory, I actually applied for Shark Tank Taiwan late last year, and I didn't hear anything back for weeks. So I kind of forgot about it, but then the producers called me and I got this email, and it actually went from why not to okay, so we're actually doing this real fast. Quick context, I also quit fitness coaching to fully run product, tech, ops, all of it for my own startup. And I'm solo, no technical founder, and it's just me. And I learned AI from scratch. I picked up vibe coding, and I got deeper into like agent architecture, systems for tech. And for the past 2 weeks, it's actually just been me focusing on Shark Tank. And I've been scripting the pitch line by line, practicing a Mandarin Q&A, and I've literally only been listening to Chinese Mendo Pop on repeat so that my mouth remembers how to move right in Mandarin.
Sorry.
I do it all day, every day, even when I'm working, so that I can kind of practice. And I gotta be honest, I'm really scared, like honestly, genuinely. And I just kept thinking, is this gonna be okay? Am I legit enough? And what the fuck am I doing? But honestly, that's the whole point. So if I wait till I'm ready, I'm probably never gonna apply, and I'm never gonna walk into that room. So I think my goal for 2026 is to be audacious and do things that scare me. So I'm gonna show up in the room that used to feel too big for me, and I'll feeling kind of scared, but I'll just do it anyway. So follow me if you wanna hear more about my journey from coaching to building my own startup, and wish me luck.
All right, thank you for sitting through my highlight reel. So that was the experience, some footage from the actual day itself. So I think I should just clear, like, if later you have any questions, you can ask me. So I think the experience was very exciting, but also quite terrifying. So I actually had the first slot in the morning at 8:30. So I went in and I was the first person, and the producers were actually really nice. I think most of the people were Taiwanese startups, and I think they're mostly in the B2B space from what I've seen, at least for that current slot that I had in the morning. And the person after me was working on like, what was it that you mentioned? I can't remember. What was it that you said? The person, the arbitrage. He was renovation arbitrage apparently, because it was something about like how much your building is gonna be worth if you before renovation and after renovation. So that was a startup after mine. And then for mine, obviously, I'm building this Wellness Park Companion, right? So yeah, I went in, the producers looked really fierce and scary. So I just did my best. I'm not supposed to say anything about the actual event because I signed an NDA and I'll keep to my word. But the experience before that, after that was, it was pretty interesting. And they did some B-rolls of me walking in and walking out, and they interviewed me at the end. Yeah, so I think that was, I don't know, I can take it as positive signs. So maybe I'll just say, you'll find out if I'm in or not. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. If I'm in Taiwan in August, then maybe that's a sign. But I could be there just for a vacation. So yeah, so the thing is, I will not know until they reach out to me, and I was so excited, I forgot to ask. I was like, bye everyone, thank you so much. And I just left the venue, and I didn't even know when it was gonna come out. And if you look at my B-rolls, like, literally, I'm just filming myself and saying, oh my God, I'm so excited. I just went for the rehearsals. And then I look back, I was like, what rehearsals? It's a live audition. So I actually haven't gotten it yet, just saying. So let's see what they'll say. So today I'm gonna be updating on the week 8 progress. And I think the key learnings that I had was to look at Maibo as, I want to focus on distribution, from just founder-led traction to repeatable acquisition engine. Oh my God, I realized there's a typo, but yeah. So previously I was focusing on pure product engineering. Now I'm going to look at multi-platform distribution. And the reason why I actually changed this photo was because I actually had 11 rehearsals in the past 9 days, and I changed my entire deck fully. I focused a lot more on my story. I added in a lot more OPA-focused kind of images so that the core point of my product could really be driven in 3 minutes. So those were the key changes, and I really leaned into the founder traction story, which kind of also then drives my strategy for the upcoming few weeks. So the strategic insights I had was that I really need to hammer in my founder market fit as a key moat. I need to focus on my distribution as a key bottleneck, and I want to refocus on product and distribution and team execution. I know previously I was always talking about like having all my agents do the work for me, but I think there's a limit as to how much they can really execute And I still need people to vet specific verticals. So that's one key thing. So I actually did also include like in my pictures like a lot more focus on my traction. And that's what you also see on screen. And I think it's also a personal bottleneck for me because I really am uncomfortable with being visible. I think that's my core problem because I think it seems that I'm very extroverted and outgoing, but I actually spend a lot of time talking to my agents and like not humans. So yeah, anyway, side point. So what I've decided to do is, one key learning was while preparing for it, I had other founder friends vet through my pitch deck and my pitch itself. And they mentioned like that, you know, Mabel, like I've already seen that you do social media. Why aren't you talking about your traction? So fun fact, I've already been running my own Instagram page. My strength is actually in marketing. I know when I came in, I talk a lot about product and engineering and evals, but actually I started off my coaching business fully doing my own marketing. And it was only 2 years ago that I hired someone, and she's actually been managing my social media account for 2 years. So nobody knows this as well because I trained her really well, and then it looks like I'm super active, but I'm actually not on social media at all. So it's also a problem because it's focused a lot on coaching, but even though I was not touching it at all personally, I have a cumulative 2 million impressions across platforms for the past 90 days, especially for my Instagram, and a lot of it is memes. So I actually have a lot of funny memes related to wellness coaching, and it's based off my transformation story as well. That's like one of my core pillars. So my main channels now are YouTube and Instagram. And so it's very founder-led story. Like I haven't been talking about my product at all. Like it was something that I never publicized. So now I'm gonna just share a bit about like, this is my current platform. If you look at the current top kind of reels I have, it's all like meme focused. I had one that's like a cat video, and then it just had like hundreds of hours of views. It was 11 seconds, and it's like a meme. So I'm very confused, but that's just how it works, right? But now I think the core point is how can I turn it into a repeatable acquisition engine? So that's my next focus. I want to move away from just memes and random top trending content towards something that will actually convert, right? And then I also have my YouTube, which was repurposed. I just recently picked it up again, and it is doing also okay. Like, and I see this mom shots, and I have 231,000 views. I have no idea. It's literally about like when I'm eating, I'm hungry, and then I'm hangry, and then now I eat, and I'm like much happier in my month. So literally, that's just it. And I have been repurposing only for 2 platforms. And lastly, I really wanted to also talk about like one of my key pillars, which I also feel like I haven't been maximizing, was my LinkedIn. I only started LinkedIn 1 year ago because my background is teaching and coaching. So my network is really like, I didn't have a LinkedIn until last year. Literally, I had like 2-digit connections maybe. So I just started my LinkedIn, and I realized that it really helps with building legitimacy as a founder. So that's something I also want to keep hammering down on. And last week, I didn't post for 1 week, and I felt like it already affected my reach a little bit. So I'm going to keep focusing on LinkedIn as well. So this is actually what I'm going to work on moving forward. From founder-led traction to repeatable paid engine. Now my core channels are Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I'm going to expand into TikTok, Facebook, and Threads. But I think it is much more manageable to actually have like agentic like support for these, because I cannot be obviously manually doing it. And I do have a human contributor, and she's been managing my coaching account forever, right? So I'm training her to leverage much more AI tools, and we're going to use like some platforms I'm going to be sharing right after these slides. So my core point is, from now on, I'm going to focus on multi-platform distribution to filter for the qualified traffic and get more signups and convert them to paid users. And actually that will be one of my core milestones for my raise. So yeah, the first platform I wanted to introduce that I've been using is actually for intelligence gathering. So I subscribe to this thing called Social Growth Engineers, and it actually has the top trends, organic trends by companies that actually seed out like 20, 30 videos like across different platforms all at the same time. Once they find like the trending viral post, they will hammer down on it, and they just post non-stop. And then they get like, they even do analysis. So this platform does analysis even of the conversion rates, like how much MRR they're doing, and then the different verticals, they categorize it according to different like industries and what trends perform best for each industry. And it's always the latest up-to-date trends. And those gather like millions of views, and they convert to actual users who download the app. So I use this as my intelligence gathering platform, and I just send my agents in to gather like insights. And the next thing I use, and I'm going to start using, is Metricool, which is cross-posting across channels, and also for centralized analytics across all my different platforms, so that I can optimize for content that not only gets attention, because I'm only at the first stage, I want to drive action, convert, and have audiences that pay, and move from traction to a repeatable acquisition engine. So yeah, what has progressed this week is that I think I underutilized my founder story. I actually spent like 15 years inside the problem, and I think this was something that was really mentioned when I first did my Shark Tank pitch here. It was like I focused so much on business logic, but I think I saved that for the Q&A during the actual rehearsal, so that was a much better idea. I didn't open up cans of worms to shoot myself in, because I'm so early stage. Actually, I should just be focusing on me as the main founder market fit, okay? Second, distribution was my secondary focus. I literally didn't touch it much. And now I think it's the main bottleneck, because I'm gonna refocus. Also, I realized one interesting thing. I wrote this in a LinkedIn post recently, that it's not just about translation for conversational platforms. We have to look at how cultural fluency actually affects like the user's experience of my platform, because the way they express their pain of like trying to like lose weight or like be healthy, it's very different from different cultures. Even when I wrote my pitch, I realized it was Chinese Mandarin and Taiwanese Mandarin. Singaporean Mandarin are all different, even the way we express it, right? So this is a core product design, and I have to get ready for it when I get into Shark Tank, because I want to have it online, like LINE, which is the main Taiwanese platform. And lastly, I focused too much on product and engineering. I wanted to do it because those were my weaknesses, but now I'm gonna go back down to my strengths, which is actually marketing and distribution, and I'll find like the right people to actually run the product and distribution, which is also why I'm raising, because I think they deserve to be paid like the market rate for all the work that they've done, and they're amazing, and I want to retain them for a longer time. So that's also my key focus. So distribution and product, not just engineering itself. So can Miro turn emotional trust into visible wellness progress and distribute it across Asia? Follow Mapes Low on all platforms to stay tuned. Thank you.
Hey. Thank you, Mabel.
Okay.
Any questions?
No?
No questions for Mabel?
It can be fun questions. Doesn't have to be so serious.
So since you are pretty much you are in every single role right now, right? Because you are the founder of the all, and you don't really have a full-time staff. So how will you know that what you curate is what people want? Because again, right, you are just one person, right? You are yourself. How will you not stay insular in your own bubble?
When you say curate, as in like the posts, is it like my strategy?
Post, your OPA, your everything.
I actually
Your
talk a
cultural
lot to
fluency.
I talk a lot to to my users. I'm still in touch with my community. I actually check in on them a lot, even the existing users. And I think the main thing is also because, see, I lived 15 years inside the problem. So I think intuitively, I always have a sense of what the women want, although I'm not always correct, right? So sometimes I post it and then it takes off and then I will know. So it's like a bit of both, I would say. But another thing is I realize sometimes for social media, it's very erratic. Sometimes I look at the proposed kind of post that my social media manager gives me, and I'm like, this one, it looks so like she's a Gen Z, I'm a millennial, right? So I'm just like, are you sure this is gonna flow? And then it takes off. And it just explodes. So to me, it's like sometimes it could be the algorithm, right? There are some strategies, I'm happy to talk about it the next time. Like there are some strategies that have really worked for me at the start. But now I feel like being really authentic and organic, and it's not really about polished posts anymore. Those things really work. So staying very close to the ground helps me. But the echo chamber thing is right. That's why I'm actually here, right, as part of like the residency, because I speak to other builders and I really hear like opinions from other founders and also from my other like communities like AppWorks Accelerator. It really helps. So yeah, but thanks for that question. Yeah, a reminder not to be too insular and then really like reach out to other humans who are also building. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Mabel. Okay, who wants to go next? Adib, you want to go next? Or okay, Adib.
Hello. Okay, so like I think for this week, like a good summary. So like almost lost a design partner this week, and among other things. But then I'll just go through. So like I think it's like product development internally, externally, and also like the fundraising part. So like I guess for product development on the internal side, I think I have reached a stage where I can't be deployed always to gather like debug logs from the local workstations of like the users. So definitely it's time to look at observability solutions. So I've been like, I think this whole week has been like trying to work with Datadog, trying to figure out the architecture to work. Because it's like 5 hours in a room, but we just can't figure it out. Because I think like a lot of the issues that we are having right now is that a lot of our information is stuck on Autodesk's servers. Like how practitioners get their information, it's all like, they pull like the models from the AWS cloud that Autodesk owns. So they kind of don't really like own anything except for the ones that they download. But then even then it starts drifting from the actual model. Beyond that, so like externally, so had my first like lunch and learn session this week on Monday. So like in the room of like 20, kind of I think for Cinebena we've always been building for the 3D to 3D pipeline, and then that works more with like younger designers. But I guess that's the part that I kind of forget, that the majority of users and practitioners are still slightly older, above 40. So like what happened in a room of 20, technically like almost everyone only works in 2D. Some don't even use software at all, they just sketch. And like that becomes like a huge bottleneck. So like the development session for this week has been mostly to move from 2D to 3D as quickly as possible. So let's say, for example, you get like some floor plan. So I guess like the good thing I was sharing with Daryl, the good thing about like elder practitioners, they are really standardized with the way they do stuff. So the way they organize their layers, etc. And these are things that our AI engines can like learn and like start 3D modeling for them like pretty much. So they don't have to hand off that task to someone else. Then yeah, so I guess last week I mentioned something about the hackathon win. So like during that event, we also had like a VC like reach out, mentioning about fundraising and all. And the thing is, I've never thought about it because I just like to keep things lean at the moment and just try to experiment along the way. But definitely after like the sharing session earlier this week, I kind of figured out like, oops, I can't do this alone anymore. And it's getting really, really hard because in terms of like software vendor specific tool sets, I can only do so much. And the worst part is that trying to be deployed and engage and understand the user workflows needed from each practitioner in a firm is getting quite like taxing, because like at the end of the day, I still have to work on the core product, which was 3D to 3D pipelines. So yeah, hopefully like better news next week. Oh, sorry, I think I forgot to mention like how I almost lost like a design partner. So like in the in the sharing session, I think like I still come to like places and these were relationships that we have had before. So people still see me as a consultant. So when people share things like, oh, my MEP engineer or my structural engineer is not listening to me, I think like last time I could still like entertain things like that. So I think like it was a slip on my tongue. I mentioned like, oh, how come you don't know? It's like, why are you expecting someone else to fill in the work for you when you are supposed to be at least understanding the entire pipeline before you try and hand off? So I guess like that doesn't really sit well with like a lot of older practitioners, because they are very used to the fact that if I have a solution I need to be done, I can hand it off to someone else. But I guess like being detached from the practice in that sense kind of made me realize that my vocabulary might have shifted. So like I'm always seeing things from a very detached angle. And I guess it's like the whole thing where like when I start like going for places or going for like deployed like situations, I might have to be more mindful about that. So didn't really lose them, but probably just lose one practitioner who like, what the hell is this? So yeah, pretty much. Thank you.
Thank you, Adib. Questions?
Oh yes, please.
So I think just now we talked about this, and I think I faced the same problem because I came from a coaching background. So sometimes I ended up getting pulled into solving problems that were more on like outside of the scope of my role, right? So one thing I thought about was that really helps me, I'm not sure it might be helpful for you too, was that because I built up, like that's why I focused so much for the 1 year, even though I'm not in the B2B space currently. I focus a lot on LinkedIn because then I started talking about the common problems I heard in the industry, and I write about it as someone who is building a solution for that problem. But then I wasn't promoting that kind of coaching slash, for you is consultancy kind of component, right? So for you, it would be like you talk about the issues that people are facing, and then like how your product solves like a niche in that wedge, and then you kind of like go forward to say, oh, if you like to try it, then you can like soft promote like what you're saying, and then have conversations with those people who have the pain point that you understand. Maybe that will be helpful. Yeah, and then slowly steer them, because then they will come to you as a authority, like to discuss like the problems that they have, and then you get more market insights, and it helps improve your product. Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Might be helpful.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think like a lot to unpack. I think like a lot of it has to come from like definitely like you said, like the way you approach things and like how to define like the boundary explicitly lah.
And I think you have improved in your like explanation as well. Like now it's very clear as well, even the slide. So yeah, well done. I know you were working on it. Good job. Yay, you were working on this. Good job.
Okay, thank you, Adib. Okay, next we will have Ajit to update us on what he's been working on.
All right, okay. So I've been spending the past week kind of thinking about our fundraise. So, and then talking to people, getting feedback and stuff. And so mostly, I think I'm kind of cognizant that there's a few different ways in which I can communicate the problem that we're going after, right? So like, I think I have like slides for one such narrative structure. So yeah, like, so this is only the problem. I'm not going to talk about what we do and everything. So yeah, happy to hear feedback on how it lands, right? So yeah, our company is called Common Labs. We build robots that learn tasks from observing humans. So, you know, a ChatGPT, you prompt it and then it knows what to do. But our robots, you can show it what to do and then it can learn from you. Before this, we spent 7 years in heavy industrial automation, and we did pretty well, actually. You know, the world's second largest port, which is Singapore, we ended up deploying AI in the actual, in that environment, and ran autonomous cranes, just like autonomous cars, autonomous cranes for 24/7 for the past 2 years. And I think the key thing over here is that these systems were designed to fail gracefully. So if, you know, if AI makes a mistake or anything, there's no catastrophic failure. Safety incidents was zero. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do when you are deploying physical AI. But, you know, that's also a trap. We essentially had like, how many PhDs does it take to change a light bulb, right? Like, so like, one of them is a double PhD in computer science and mathematics. One is an atomic physicist, and one me, which is like the useless PhD in biology. But like still, right? Like we're all sitting in a crane e-room, like trying to figure out like why this thing is not working. And it turns out that some random person came and unplugged the cable, right? Like, and it's so hard to do these things because you know, in industrial environments, for example, PSA, this is air gapped, right? Like, so I wish we could use Datadog or some observability platform, but all of this is completely air gapped, heavily locked down. You can't add random, there's no logging essentially, right? So in order for us to even debug something, we have to go and climb a crane, wear a safety harness, wear hard hats and go up, right? So what I'm saying is that, you know, even though we had built a really reliable system, it just didn't scale. We just couldn't find a way to scale because it meant scaling this team for every new deployment. And then beyond that, like we also kind of worked on a robotic problem, right? So let's see. So we also worked on like a robotics problem, right? So what's happening here is that you see that small thing attached to the top of the, so that's a container, and then you can see the robot, and then it's kind of, it wants to go and remove that thing. Right now, this is a super dangerous task. All over the world, containers are like hanging, and then people, when it comes out of the ship, and humans go and remove it from under the container, and sometimes, the container will drop, and people get smashed. All sorts of things can happen. So our customers were trying to use robotic arms to do it instead, right? Because, why not? But even though we had all that success with making autonomous cranes, when it came to actual like robotic arms going one step deeper, just using our vision pipelines was not working anymore, right? Like, because this is like complex manipulation, right? Like, this is like holding something. What does it feel like to hold something? What is, for example, when you're pulling that thing out, what is the amount of force that is required, right? Like, can you put this, like when you're grasping something versus when you're pulling it out, how much is the force that's required, right? All of this is, you can't visually tell, and that's when things were started breaking for us, right? It was not reliable enough for us, right? So, so those two things, one is how do you do this at scale? And second is, how do you do this for like things like complex manipulation? So those are the two questions, and we spent some time like looking, right, and finding out like what's going on, like where is there other people who've done this, right? And of course, ChatGPT is a great example, right? If you look at the dominant paradigm or research paradigm, the way to solve these problems with AI is the assumption is that the more data you have, like scale wins. So the more data you have, the higher the chance that you can solve this problem. Because in that distribution, all possible worlds exist, and then so therefore the robot will know what to do, what to grasp, all of that stuff. Now, if you look at robotic manipulation, though, the issue is that we have like 1 year worth of data versus what ChatGPT ingested, which is about 100,000 years worth of human readable data, right? So that's a big bottleneck. And on the other side, if you think about it, like the same amount of work that was taken to train ChatGPT, for a kid in the first 4 years of life, just through its like optic nerve, takes in the same amount of data just through intelligent perception, right? Like by playing around with the world, by seeing the world, by focusing attention, it can take in all of that data, right? So I think that was one interesting insight for us to see, okay, like how do we learn the way a child learns? So that's where we started. And then we were trying to look, right, like what else were people doing, right? And I think the current dominant paradigm is that people wear these kind of headsets, they embody the robot, and then they start collecting data, right? Like, okay, if I want to pour a glass of water, I'll collect like 400 hours of grasping this glass, pouring it in and making mistakes. And all of that data goes in for that one task, 400 hours, right? For context, like, one person at most for 1 month can capture about 100 hours of data. So it's a very, very slow and manual process. And really, like, I think even if we take every single lab, like Google DeepMind, NVIDIA, all of the big labs that have raised billions of dollars, and even if they each can generate 10,000 hours of data every year, it would take us 100,000 years to get to the same level of data as ChatGPT. Right? So clearly, like, it's an order of magnitude far away, or multiple orders of magnitude far away, right? 100,000 years. The second is, I think this is something like someone like, this is Cortex actually. This is something Lucas does, who was a previous co-founder of Carousell, where they strap these cameras on top of people and start like collecting, like start doing tasks, right? This is great, like, because it's a good start, but right now there's no way to use this data to actually train a robot to do something. So we're still collecting data in the hopes that we can use it in the future, sometime in the future, for a robotic manipulation. But I thought I changed that video. Oops. There are a few people who are using egocentric data collection, right? But right now, there's no way to use this data to actually get a robot to take this data in and then use it to do the same task. What is being done instead is that, like, a lot of this data is being collected, and virtual worlds are being created with this data, and then helping a robot like run around in that virtual world to figure out how to navigate that virtual world. That's what is being used for. And I think the sad thing though is that, like, even if we have all this data, right, it still won't get to like industrial scale reliability, right? Because the thing is that, like, just like ChatGPT hallucinates, right? Like, and a 90% accurate essay is like fine, like you can live with it, but a 90% accurate robot is like, I mean, imagine the crane, right? 10% of the time it can like suddenly drop the container on a truck moving, like it's impossible. So if, for industrial physical world environments, you need 99.9%. And so even if you get to that 100,000 years of data scale, like there's no guarantee that we can actually use it in the real world, right? So all this to say that I think for us, going back to that previous point that I raised, I think we really try to understand how does is there a different way, right? Like, do we really need this much data to make a robot control the physical or interact with the physical world? And I think one insight came from like just, I mean, all of us running the company, we have really young kids, and it helped to understand that, like, for example, if they hold a crayon versus holding a popsicle, right? They don't need to hold the crayon, but also like, separately need to learn how to hold a popsicle. Just learning how to hold a crayon helps them understand like what that holding, grasping feels like, right? So like but in the current robotics world, you need to collect 400 hours of data for crayons and 400 hours of data for popsicles, right? Like that's the current learning paradigm. So I think that's where we got started, and the way to kind of break this down is to think about it from the NLP versus the LLM world. So natural language processing came well before LLMs, where it was all about understanding what a sentence looks like, what the semantics of a sentence looks like, what the grammar looks like. But LLMs are just next best word prediction engines. So that's the equivalent really that we are applying here. Like, so we're trying to break down a task into what different components feel like of that particular task. And the idea is that we'll put them like that, right? Exactly with a human being, and you have two robotic arms, and the robotic arms are assisting the human being in very, very basic tasks using this new paradigm that we've come up with. And initially, we'll just target like I don't know, a 50% increase in human productivity, right? Like. Not to replace the human being at all, because that's a very high bar, but to get it to that, right? So maybe I'll pause, and there's more to it, but like maybe I'll pause now and see if the problem landed.
Okay. Yes, the answer is yes from the crowd. Are you taking questions? Okay. Any questions? Okay, Darrell says his brain is fried.
Disappointed.
What are some of the other solutions that other like robotics companies have been exploring? And then like, how are you going to compress that, like, what was it, like 100,000 years of data? Like, I think it really brought out like the issue that you're facing. It's a huge problem, but it's exciting because if you solve it, like, wow. So what are some possibilities that have been explored?
Yeah, so I think that thing that I mentioned, right, like this, so people are definitely collecting a huge amount of egocentric data. So the hope is that we'll just collect for now, and at some point, like smart people will figure out like how to use it to actually control robots. People like so you know, interesting thing in robotics is that unlike actually we see this now with ChatGPT and with Anthropic and OpenAI, where there's this whole conversation around, oh, you know, big enterprises shouldn't be using these companies because like essentially they are getting all the like IP and know-how of how these companies operate, because you can't distinguish the LLM, what the LLM is learning from it serving you. So like anytime you interact with it, it's learning from you, right? And so the next person or the next company who uses it has that information embedded in the model itself. Now think about what that means for manufacturing, right? Like imagine somebody uses this kind of approach for manufacturing iPhones, but then the next time someone uses the model, like, you know, they can now like figure back, calculate or back understand like how iPhone is being manufactured, right? So that's a huge issue, but I think like we haven't gotten there yet because robotics is not being actually deployed in the physical world yet. It's very, very still very early. But then people are using it, like if you think about like the US, right? Like, and that's something recent learning. Here, somehow, when we think about where to use robotics, we think about like manufacturing or like these dangerous tasks and stuff. In the US and in Europe, the number one thing that people think about applying robotics is actually to fold laundry and to do chores. So there they are okay, you know, giving up that data for robots to learn how to do it. But for manufacturing, there's no equivalent yet. What exists is a huge area of industrial robotics, where you know you have like these robots that can bolt engines, you know, in automobile manufacturing and all of that, which is high volume, like the same thing again and again and again, but not necessarily human-like manipulation tasks. The other thing that people do for robot learning is that embodiment that I spoke about. So like they tell you, like they are remote controlling the robot and then getting the robot to do the task. Although it's very slow, it takes about half the time to do the same task. But in places like China, they have like massive armies of people who are just sitting and collecting this data, right, to try to bridge the gap. The hope is that we don't need 100,000 years, but if we take self-driving, for example, like right now, Tesla is almost at full self-driving, and it took us 250 million hours of data to get there. The equivalent that we have in the robotic embodiment is 3,000 hours. So the delta even there is huge, right? So yeah, it's just
super cool. Like I think I was just thinking, like, firstly, I don't want that robot in my house. Although I want the robot doing household chores in the future, but I don't want that robot that was flailing in my house. Secondly, I also had this thought. You know what you were saying about like manufacturing, like having all the data, and then others can also get like can also gain access to the same data that you're feeding LLMs. Actually, I think Palantir was talking about this even in the startup space, right? Like basically, like every time you use an LLM, you're giving it all your IP, and now there are only a few major companies that are in control of all this IP that you have, and all these startups are coming up, and then there's like a mess of like repurposed kind of like intelligence because everyone's just using these LLMs for everything, and then it's like, I think that was one thing that was flagged out. So I thought it was very interesting that you're also bringing it out in the manufacturing space. And then I was also going to ask, you know, like, could it be that's why, like, because the scale of failure is going to be like so massive, like the impact is like I thought about what you said, you know, for me, if someone like messes up a conversation, then maybe they get a bit depressed, and then I think it's a huge issue already. I don't want them to be suicidal, etc., etc. I have a things to catch them, like a safety cascade, a behavioral cascade, etc. But for you, it's like if you created something that would potentially drop like a crane on freaking like trucks, and then the human cost is so high. So could it be that that's why now they're only starting from such like minor like like tasks that are so small that the failure is like inconsequential as compared to something that's massive, right? So then what do you think would be the kind of ways in which you could manage like the potential hallucinations for robotics? And then would it then lead to like kind of new ways of operations where like if you do enact like robotics that are fully autonomous and it's AI, then you have to create like new areas to, new things to prevent the failure from being catastrophic, right? Like cranes with like nets that are like gonna prepare for like that captures like freaking like things that drop from the robotic arms. You know, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. No. Really good point, right? So we can just look at self-driving, right, to understand how that works, right? So like self-driving, again, like any failure can be a catastrophic failure, right? Like because either the car doesn't brake in time, or it swerves in the wrong direction, it hits a person, it doesn't detect the person crossing the road. Actually, Tesla and Waymo solve this problem in two very different ways. The way Tesla did it is that they said, hey, like we're not going to care about any intelligence. We're just going to deploy like huge number of cars on the road that have cameras, and we're just going to collect data for 15 years, right? Like get as close to that fleet of 250 million hours. Waymo actually only has about 8 million hours of data versus 250 million, like 2 orders of magnitude difference. But they have autonomous cars, for the past 4 years, I think in SF, they've had autonomous cars, even though they have way less data. And the reason is the same thing. So Tesla takes this large model-based approach, which is the LLM-based approach. Waymo takes the NLP kind of approach, which is one model for object detection, one model for steering, one model for light, multiple models that they chain together. And all of this kind of works in a way that if there's a failure, it'll just chill out, right? Like it won't fail catastrophically. And then like a remote human teleoperator will remote in. So there's a team in the Philippines who sit there and then teleoperate and recover the car, essentially. So those are like kind of the two approaches generally that people take. We are taking like that, the Waymo approach, where the system is designed to fail gracefully when it fails. So even though the models are not like 99.9% accurate when we deploy it, so we'll just expect. That's why the multiplier on productivity is a very modest 50%, right? Because the rest of the time we expect it to fail and we expect the human to kind of help recover the robot. But maybe 50% help, especially for for one of the customers we're working with, they have people working in that factory for about 20 years, and they just care about them like that. There's a lot of repetitive stress injury from carrying heavy battery packs and stuff. So even like small tasks that these people do, if it can shave off the more harder ones, they're happy to adopt it.
Okay, makes sense. Super cool. I'm gonna think about how I can implement this in my role, because it's like failing. I like what you said, like making it very small and then you segment it so the failure is like, yeah, that's a great point. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Doris, did you still have a question?
I'll make the question very short. So let's say your robot actually automates the task for the human, right? If your robot successfully automates this job, right, then humans stop doing it, then will there still be data for the robot to train on? Because if it trains on itself, right, then that's kind of like synthetic data, right, which isn't it diminishing returns already?
Yeah. Well, I think I don't really. Interestingly, like for example, I can give you an example from the port, right? Every failure, right, and then the recovery from the failure is a data point for us to improve the model further, right? So even though, it's great if the robot starts doing the task really well, it's great, right? But like, it will get to a point where it'll fail. Like, I mean, any machine fails, right? Like, like our watches slow down. Every machine fails, and there's beat drift. So that is the key part, right? Which we then use to push the model further, right? But the second thing also is that, you see, we're using like one approach, right? We're using like this kind of you can call it like a elementary school approach, right? To push robots out. But what we're collecting instead, the data that we're collecting instead, is just huge amount of data about like what objects feel like. Like, so every time the robot goes and say holds this battery, right? It's not going to hold it in the same direction every single time. Every single time it might slip. Sometimes it might hold it with a certain amount of force. It'll slip, and maybe it'll hold it harder the next time. So every single episode has like inherent variations just because of randomness of the universe. So and we are collecting that data, like so that embodied data. So along with 3D information, right? Like so depth as well as video information that we get, right? We know that data set can be used to make like this. So we're almost using the Waymo approach to collect data to build the Tesla model, if you think about it.
I actually had a second part, but you kind of answered it already, because like the second part was basically the robots have to work in a non-perfect environment, right? It's definitely not going to be a very clean place. They're going to get dented, dusty. It's going to be rust. Or something completely unpredictable. But yeah, these are all data points. Yeah. Very cool.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ajith. I think Daryl, you're last. We're over time, so no, that's okay. It's just you guys left. And Rose, thank you.
Yeah, I rushed. What's the very? I made these slides, and I haven't really looked at the slides yet. So this will be the first time I look at the slides as well. So before I show you the slides, right, I actually want to show you a couple of shoes. But the main point that I show you the shoes, right, isn't like to show you, oh wow, I have so many shoes. I bought this, and I'm very like vain, right? No. So like stuff like this. It's a little, you get the idea, right? I just have a lot of shoes. And I am proud of the fact that I'm able to get stuff that people are not normally able to get, right? That's why there is inherent market value above what the recommended retail price is. Like, look at this. It is disgusting. I have like 20 pairs of shoes, right? And everybody else has 0. So the main point I'm trying to show you here, right? Okay, the teaching point, right, is not that I can get shoes. It's before all this AI stuff, right, automation was about like turning repeated human actions, all the human attention into systems. And AI just makes it like much smarter. So any automation just starts with the same thing, right? It's any automation, right, is pretty much the same thing. It's just noticing a signal, filtering through the noise, and triggering the right action, right? So the normal thing that a human would do, right, is pretty much just open a website, refresh, check what you want, and if it's there, buy it. If it's not, too bad, refresh it again, right? But how long can you really stay at your computer? So it makes sense to have an automation thing there. And the pipeline is pretty simple, right? It's just the bot watches the website, it detects change, it filters through all the useful info based on your parameters, and sends you an alert. Then you buy the thing if the alert comes. So it's not magic, but it's like more systemized attention, and it's just what I want to show you, because like this type of systemized thinking is what helped me approach the rest of my life, business, and everything else, right? The inner workings is pretty straightforward. It's just a loop. If it's there, do the action. If it's not there, try again, right? It's a pretty straightforward thing. And it's just, I don't know, it's just so magical to me that it's such a simple thing, right? It can achieve what a majority of the world would never even be able to imagine. And Sorry, this is the first time I'm seeing the slides as well. I haven't seen the slides at all. My first time seeing it as well. So I'm reading it in real time. And I'm improving most of it. Okay, never mind. I'll improv the rest of this. So I'll frame it like this, right? The real thing that I learned from all these like monitors, right, is not how to get the item, but it's more like to think in systems. So questions to myself, what am I watching? Do I really understand exactly what I'm looking at? Who is hosting it? How are they hosting it? What counts as a meaningful change? What noise should be ignored? Where should the alert go? What action should happen next? And what's the most efficient route, right? Like I could go in circles and circles and circles. Eventually, I'll reach the end. Or I could find a way to go straight, right, to whatever path I want. So it's a lot of these type of thinking, right, that helps with this. And how do I make it relevant to Carousell? Well, it applies the same thing to products, marketplaces, customer support, pricing, lead generation, so on and so forth, right? Fraud detection as well. You guys notice a pattern, you guys label it, you guys learn more and more from the data, and like it's robots, you guys train on that data and you guys have an SOP for that thing. So you guys can watch for all the underpriced listings, suspicious seller behavior, demand spikes, customer intent, and in this case, right, you guys have a new live streaming website, sorry, not website, but a part of your website. And you guys only have that because you notice that there is more demand and attention towards that sector, right? So okay, I'll end it off with like the edge is like not refreshing faster, right? But like knowing about the system that you want to build and knowing what is worth paying attention to. Yeah, systems, signals, and automated attention. And I actually like to show you guys what it looks like. My friend was very insistent that I do not show you guys this, but whatever, man. So, for example, this is a simple monitor, right? It just looks at a website based on a code, and it shows you the back-end stuff. It's some exploitative code that I'm not supposed to be able to see normally. Like, for example, if you have a Shopify website, I can look at your Shopify website and know exactly how much stock you have, whether it's out of stock, what size, so on and so forth. And if you have a timer, what time you're releasing. Yeah, like, CPUs, back when GPUs were hot, 5090s, I could get it for retail price. Normal people can't. Pokemon, yeah, anything of the sort. Like, Shopify, the back end, you see 28 products removed, 7 collections removed. I know exactly what you do. And sorry? Oh no. This is a friend. I filtered through it and deleted some stuff, right? But basically, this is just me showing you, right, that I can do this to you too. To anyone with an online store. And stock. You see, I could literally see your exact stock. I don't actually know their actual names, but like, no. Very, very smart Chinese coders. I know their usernames, I don't know their actual names. But these are my online friends, lor. Oh, Walmart, I can see the exact stuff on Walmart. So let's say,
How does that work? Like how do you key in their, like let's say I have an online store and then I want you to hack it and then I give you, like how do you get access to it? You put their IP address or what?
that's not how websites work.
I don't know. Like
So let's say you have a Shopify store, right? And then you sell stuff on your Shopify store. It's a very simple e-com website. This bot looks at something in the back end, and it is able to gather the data from your store and find like the min and max and all the stuff
but
of
how?
your inventory.
Like it's like what? An API is hacking or like what? Like
Actually, it's hard to explain to you because across the years, right, Shopify themselves did change this thing like 6 times in 4 years, and it's different every single time, right? And it's a little hard to explain.
But
to
they
you
always manage to hack through.
Oh yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward. I could show you like privately lah, but I'm not
Okay, I
gonna
want to
show
see
you
it
now
later.
lah. Let's see. Do I have a? Oh, here's a Singapore example. All right. So some Air Jordan 1 women's shoes and the exact stock count and yeah, it's a pretty straightforward thing like Adidas. Oh, I even have Twitter bots. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You guys want to see anything else? Any questions? Oh yeah, I could buy PS5s as well.
How do you think this could be used for good?
Okay, well, first of all, what do you define good as?
Maybe not for like self-profit. What if it was done? Could you think of a way to? Because I think this is a very useful skill. I'm 100% sure. But how do you think it could be? What if they paid you to like, I don't know, what can you do? Like build defenses against this? There's no, oh my God, it can leak. Oh my God, like this is like leaking every shop's like own like data. Like that's basically what you are able to create.
Well, yes and no lah. Like I can see your inventory, I can't see your sales, I can't see your website traffic, I can't see any of that. I can just see, did you update inventory? Yes or no? If you did, how many? And can I forcefully buy it?
I guess it can also work backwards, right? If they're stocking out on something, they're like, this one looks like, and then across like 10 shops, like everybody's stocking out on the same thing. They're like, okay, it seems like this is like a high demand thing. I don't know. Okay.
I'm not sure how it can be used for good lah. Never really thought that far in terms of this because like.
How are you earning from this? Is it like you
Oh
pay
no,
them?
I've stopped using this. That's why I'm willing to show you what this is. There are a lot of things that I cannot show you guys now. Maybe in a few years, right? If this thing comes up again, invite me back and I'll show you some really crazy stuff.
I feel unsafe, but okay, thanks. Thank you, thank you.
Any last questions?
This one you call portals, right?
All right, I can see if your password page is up or down. I can see the exact discount. Oh, your exact stock count. I showed you this already. Where is it? Checkpoint. No. No. These are not discount codes. These are discount monitors. So again, very specific parameters. The bot is dumb. It is not AI. It is very specific. What? For what purpose? This is good enough. It's like the 80-20 thing, you know. The final 20, right, is not worth it. Right?
Okay.
So if you guys want anything, I might have a monitor for everything.
Okay, any other questions for Daryl?
Yeah, final questions.
No? Okay.
Yay.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay. All right, thanks everyone for dialing for this week's show and tell. Thanks for all those who are online as well, who faithfully dial in every week. So we'll call an end to today's session. Thank you.